It's a savings Riot all month, only at Home Depot. 3/4-inch plywood panels in 4x8 sheets. Perfect for protecting your retail outlet from people exercising their First Amendment right to loot. $21.88 each. Savings Riot. Kiddebrand 3-in-1 fire extinguishers, rated for electrical fires, most combustibles, and Molotovs hurled by humanities majors. Just $39.97. Savings Riot. Benjamin Moore exterior black paint. One can covers 400 square feet of anti-capitalist sentiment. $22.15 a gallon. Savings Riot. It's a savings riot all month, only at Home Depot. Open 24 hours until we can replace the doors that were stolen. You're listening to Questionable Material, produced in New York by Jack Helmuth and Brian Sack. QMpodcast.com. Clark's Pet Palace, everything you need for pets in one place. Clark's Pet Palace. My name is Brian. How can I help you?
Oh, I needed hospice care.
For a cat, a dog, what do you need hospice care for?
Well, it was for my grandma. I didn't know they offered hospice care for kitties.
Yeah, kitties, rabbits, guinea pigs, dogs, you name. If it's an animal, if it walks on 4 legs, we can hospice it.
Okay, how would you hospice my pet bunny? His name is Mr. Carrots.
Mr. Carrots. Well, you're aware of our COVID-19 protocols, of course. We have to do our hospicing on the street. We've built a little shelter on the street with some vinyl shower curtains to kind of protect you from the wind. And what we'll do is we'll set your bunny up there. What's his name? Mr. Carrots?
Mr. Carrots.
It's funny because bunnies don't eat carrots. That was very misleading from Bugs Bunny. I always thought bunnies ate carrots. And then when I met bunnies in the real world and tried to feed them carrots, they just had no interest in the carrots whatsoever. And I was stunned. And it turned out my whole childhood was a lie.
Well, no, I know that's why we're sending our bunny to hospice care. He's 6 months old and in perfect health.
Here's what we'll do. You're going to bring Mr. Carrots to our outside hospice care, COVID-19 protocols. We will put him into a bunny basket and then we'll just leave him there to live out his days in the comfort of the bunny basket. We have hospice care attendants and they will be attending to Mr. Carrots. Of course, they have to keep 6 feet of distance, but they will feed him with sticks. And as part of our November promotion, you will get a video of your pet's end of life. So we'll get a nice DVD video of we can add music to it for a few extra dollars. And we can do the highlights if you want a highlight reel of that.
Highlights of his last moments?
Highlights of his last moments. Edited by Stephen Kramer, who went to Full Sail Academy for 2 years and learned how to edit.
Wow, that sounds pretty fancy. This is better service than I expected. But you're just going to toss Mr. Carrots into a basket, you said?
A bunny basket.
Okay, well, what makes a basket a bunny basket?
It's a shopping cart filled with dying bunnies.
Oh,
bunny basket.
That's how I want him to go because I have no attachment to him due to the lie of the carrot lie.
Yeah, I hear you. We get a lot of that. That's why the bunny basket is filled up mostly with bunnies named Mr. Carrots or Mr. Talks or Mr. Stands on Hind Legs. This whole Bugs Bunny thing was a complete lie. They sold us bunnies on a false premise. I hope Mel Blanc is rotting in hell.
Me too, man. Me too.
What's up, Doc?
And would you say most of your bunnies in the bunny basket are relatively young?
Yeah, a lot of them are young.
Oh, okay.
Because bunnies keep making bunnies. The bunny basket is constantly full.
So that you started like 3 days ago, there were like 4 bunnies in there. In
the bunny basket, and now there are 23 bunnies awaiting hospice.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long wait for some of them.
It is. And that's why our videos are 12 to 15 hours long. And we kind of circle which bunny we think was yours. Because at the end of the day, they all look the same. No,
I totally agree. Don't get mad at me for asking this, but I have also been looking for hospice care for my grandma.
Yeah.
Is that something you got, like, I don't want to make 2 trips. Is that something you guys do?
It is. So what you do is you bring your grandmother to Clark's and we'll assign you a bunny hospice tent. what we'll do is we have curbside delivery of bunny ears. You plop those on grandma, and then you get grandma to curl up in a shopping cart. How old is she?
It's my wife, Betsy. She's 41.
41. Okay, so she's not as small and frail as one would hope, which makes it harder to fit her into the bunny basket.
It's sort of like the Mr. Carrots thing. Like when I married her, I was sort of promised like, oh, here's a partner who will always want to have sex with you and stuff. And now that that's no longer the case, I just sort of like with the bunny, I just sort of want to be done with her.
No, I understand. So what we can do advanced hospice care.
Okay.
What
does that mean?
Well, we put her in the bunny basket, which is a shopping cart, and then we remove the chocks on the shopping cart, which then, because Clark's is on a hill, results in the shopping cart kind of going down into traffic.
Oh, I think it's really nice. I think that's really how she'd like to go.
Well, then bring her on by to Clark's Pet Palace.
And can I get one of them videos there about her final hours?
Absolutely.
But I also do have a grandma. She's got about 6 months to live. You asked how old and frail she is. She's 88. Okay. We like to say years young, but she's not young at all. That's a lie too, like everything else in America these days.
Then here's what we do. It's called the two birds, one stone method. So we're going to get your grandmother. We're going to put her behind the wheel of an Oldsmobile Delta 98 with no airbags. We're going to have her driving up the hill at the same time we release the chocks on your wife's bunny basket. And ideally, the Oldsmobile with your grandmother in it will strike the bunny basket with your wife in it. And we will have killed, pun intended, two birds with one stone.
I'll be there in the morning. Also, do you guys sell cat food?
We only have carrots.
Happy election day to you, buddy.
Thanks, Jack. We are recording this on election day. We're recording this on November 3rd. We're airing it on November 5th. And we might not know who the president is. You want to do election guesses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to win this thing?
I think America's going to win because I think it's going to go really well. Everyone sort of is going to come together and just sort of realize, like, you know what you were saying is a good point. I may not agree with you, but good point. And I accept the outcome of this election. That's my prediction.
And as far as the person at the head of government in January 20th.
Yes.
Who do you think that person will be?
I think it will be Joe Biden.
Do you?
I do. That is not a strong belief I have. That's just what I think. That's where the polls are pointing.
I think it's going to be a lot
more
closer.
Pathways to victory.
But I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. There's a lot of wishful thinking about flipping certain red states like Texas and Florida, things like that. So I think it'll be interesting. Either way, I vote for Flenderson.
Oh, what are some of Flam Glinderson's positions that you're most excited about?
He's adamant that he does not appear on any ballot.
Wow. What? Why take that approach? Because it makes it seem like his pathway to 270 would be a little bit longer.
It's the Write Me In party. And their whole platform is that they want to be elected by write-ins only. Because if you write in somebody's name,
means you mean it more.
It means it takes a little effort, right? Yep. You're working at it. You're doing it.
Yep. Like getting a handwritten card on your anniversary is better than going and buying a crappy Hallmark one because you put in the effort.
You put in the effort. And you have more of a connection to the person you're voting for. And it reminded me of this guy who I thought was very interesting. He had a business card and it didn't have his phone number or email on it.
Okay.
It just had his name and what he did. I said, what's up with the fact you don't have your email address or your telephone number on your business card? He said, because then they have to Google me. And he goes, and when they Google me, they find out all about me. And there's a better connection there.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, interesting.
He killed himself after going broke. Is that right?
Yeah, he went bankrupt. He started his lawyer business and nobody showed up. I think part of the problem was his name was David Smith.
Oh, God. That's a bad move. All right, so let's go back to President to be Flenderson. What are some things that drew you to this candidate who you're going to vote for and who could be our next president?
Well, as you know, I've never been a two-party duopoly kind of person.
Definitely not.
I find both parties profoundly disappointing in different ways. And so I've always kind of aligned myself with someone who's strange and unelectable. And what I saw in Flenderson, and the problem I think is that his name is spelled in multiple different ways.
I would guess so.
Depending on who's.
A lot of ballots being tossed in that one.
I mean, umlauts or the line through the O or accents. Is there an H in Flenderson? There are so many options. And I think that's really his main obstacle.
Right. What does Flenderson really stand for? What are some of his policy positions that really draw you to him?
He believes abortions should be heavily taxed.
That's confusing.
And by heavily taxing abortions and encouraging them on children's television, we could raise a lot of money to then create an army of people that ironically blocks abortion clinics.
Wow. I don't know if that's a conservative or a liberal position.
And that's his thing. He's kind of wily that way. You really don't know where he stands. Obviously, the Democrats lean left. The Republicans lean right. The Libertarians lean center right. The Greens lean left. The Independence Party, I have no idea.
Sure.
But Flenderson, nobody really knows. All they know is he doesn't want to be on any ballots, that he wants to make you work for it. But, his positions are really, they leave you wondering.
What's another position that you're curious about that even you haven't been able to figure out yet?
He believes very strongly in the right to keep and bear arms.
Okay.
But only to attack people with guns if they believe in the right to keep and bear arms.
Okay. Walk me through why this is important to you.
I don't know if it's important to me. I just find it fascinating.
Oh, so this is more of you're more into the chaos than you are into the actual policy.
I'm a chaos voter.
Oh.
I vote for people.
Oh, that's interesting.
I tend to vote and gravitate towards candidates whose platforms make little to no sense. And that is why I supported John Kerry in 2004.
What? Okay, so give me the then we'll move on. Give me the top two Flenderson chaos proposals that you're most excited about. That you'd like to see enacted day one, January 21st of 2021.
Well, we spend a lot of time on diplomacy.
Okay.
And he has a policy he calls 20-sided die diplomacy.
Okay.
And what it is, it's a 20-sided die taken from a Dungeons and Dragons box.
Sure.
That his grandfather used to own, whittled from ivory. And he uses that for all diplomatic policies.
Okay. So, reaching a truce with North Korea, what would happen?
Rolls the die.
Okay. What happens if it comes up 3, and what happens if it comes up 19?
3 is increased luxury exports.
Okay. And 19?
And 19 is a limited nuclear exchange.
Oh, there's some chaos there.
He loves chaos.
This is limited.
I like chaos candidates.
And then your final chaos policy that most excites you?
The more money you pay in taxes, the more votes you get. So if you pay $3,000 in taxes, you get 3,000 votes. If I pay $10,000 in taxes, I get 10,000 votes. That way, I've paid more money in taxes, which is not fair, but I get more say, which is fair.
That seems more like a really strange policy than chaos. Where does the chaos come in?
The chaos comes in as to where the money goes.
Okay.
He's got a cage. Cage is filled with ping pong balls. And on those ping pong balls are numbers.
Okay.
Each number corresponds to some department of the government. And then he's got another cage filled with ping pong balls. And on them are written a variety of numbers from 1 million, 600 million, 1 billion, 200 million. And so what he does is he reaches into one, pulls out a ping pong ball. It says Department of Defense. And then he reaches in the other one, pulls out a ping pong ball, and it says 12 billion. And that's the budget for the Department of Defense for that following year.
Oh, fascinating.
Which is chaotic because there used to maybe 650 billion. Suddenly you got 12 billion to work with. Well, what do you got to do? Maybe turn off some battleships, maybe.
Just turn them off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's super exciting.
Well, that's what I like about a chaos party. You don't know what to expect. It makes life a little more interesting. Living on the edge, Jack.
Yeah.
That's why I like a
That's
candidate.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm glad we're recording this on election day, so I can go write in my name right now.
He just quit the race.
So, Brian.
Yeah, Jack.
I know you're big into transitions, right? You wrote the book on transitioning.
I did write the book on transitioning.
And I know it sort of went off the charts on Amazon. And I know a lot of people were disappointed. Why don't you tell us what the book is about and what people thought the book was about?
The book was called A Guide to Transitioning by Brian Sack.
Okay.
And on the cover is a picture of a man, and then next to the man is a woman.
Right.
And they look somewhat similar.
Sure.
And I guess the problem is, and why Amazon removed it, is they felt it was misleading.
Why? I don't understand why.
A lot of people thought the book was about transitioning from a male to a female, some kind of gender transitioning thing, transsex thing. And it wasn't. You know, I had outsourced the cover design to Fiverr. Some guy in India whipped something together for me. I was in a rush. Mm-hmm. I okayed it, and I approved this book. So it briefly spiked on Amazon. And I do have the ability to call myself an Amazon best-selling author. But the book was a guide on transitioning from one presidency to another.
So there were confused teenagers all throughout America who maybe were like, okay, I'm going to finally be able to figure out how to do this. They'd order your book and then they're like, here's how to pass the nuclear football. Exactly.
And that, was upsetting to a lot of people. Obviously, a lot of people wanted their money back. I got a lot of negative reviews. And then Amazon ultimately stepped in and said, this cover is incredibly misleading. We're going to take it off.
If Hillary Clinton had won, it would have been Obama transitioning, a man transitioning into Hillary Clinton, a woman.
That was what my thinking. And that's exactly what the artist from India was suggesting. It's just that he did stick figures with crudely drawn breasts.
So the stick figure had boobies?
One of them did.
And how could you tell the boy stick figure?
It had a little extra stick.
Okay, so you've written the book on transitioning, and it's really about transitioning power. A perfect book for the age we're living in. Should Joe Biden defeat President Trump today on Election Day,
right,
or on December 9th when this is all decided?
Exactly.
So we would love our listeners would love to hear some key tricks and tips to transitioning power.
Sure. If Joe Biden wins the election, then January 20th, he's going to be transitioning into the presidency.
Yes. But again, what are some tips to a peaceful transition of power? Because that's what everyone, that's the sort of key phrase that everyone wants to have happen.
Right. Because that's what we've been doing for 200 something years. A peaceful transition of power. The most powerful country in the world, peacefully transitioning power.
Okay.
So the head of the new department is going to be meeting the head of who's leaving. The incoming head of the Department of Energy will sit down on a love seat with the outgoing head of the Department of Energy. Okay?
Oh, I follow you so far, yeah.
And they're gonna do what they call talkies.
Oh, talkies.
And talkies basically, the outgoing head is going to give a brief. He's going to be briefing the incoming head on what to expect in the Department of Energy. Hey, how you doing? We all do electricity and stuff, and some nuclear and things like that. Listen, don't talk to Barbara. She's got a chip on her shoulder and she'll chew you out. Do not touch Barry's lunch. It's in the fridge. It's always in the back in a paper bag. It's got a big B on it. Don't go near it. He keeps track of everything that's in that bag. And by golly, if you dare sneak in there and grab a piece of his tuna sandwich, he will know about it.
Huh.
And just so you know, they don't really keep track of office supplies here. Help yourself to some extra Post-it notes, if you know what I mean.
Well, and do they usually know what they mean?
It depends who the incoming head of the Department of Energy is.
What if it's like a Rick Perry type?
What he does is he knows he doesn't know what the guy means, but he doesn't want to convey it. So he just kind of looks very serious and nods his head and hopes that time goes by quickly.
I've used that trick a time or two.
I love that trick.
Okay, so that makes sense for that sort of transition. I guess I would wish that they would maybe cover some more substantive policy and or decorum issues.
It depends on the department, of course. So let's say Department of Homeland Security.
Okay, let's say yes, Department of Homeland Security.
The incoming head of the Department of Homeland Security sits on a love seat with the outgoing head of Department of Homeland Security. Hey, what's up? At the border, people keep running over. You got to stop that stuff. It's not cool. Don't let them do that. And if you see a little radio-controlled Jeep with a pile of what look like saran wrap bricks on top, that's probably coke or pot. You need to stop that.
Oh, yeah. So, what I would like to know is, I've always wondered, the transition of power. I mean, literally, people have to leave their desks. I would imagine on January 20th, you've got, President Obama, let's talk about the last transition. President Obama's team are at their desk at work on the 20th until about noon. Mm-hmm. And then they just have to walk out and new people come to their desk. I mean, how does the transition of the actual building of the White House go?
Well, so in the West Wing outside the president's office, the secretary sits. All right, the president's secretary. Well, she's going to talk to the incoming secretary. She opens up the top drawer. She says, "This is for spoons." And she'll point. She'll be like, "That's the pudding spoon. That's a soup spoon. That's a sugar spoon for your coffee. That's a sugar spoon for your tea." They have a lot of different spoons. The White House is pretty fancy. She'll go through all the protocol for spoons, how to use, when to wash, what to wash with. Certain presidents prefer different washing procedures for their spoons. That pudding spoon is the same pudding spoon that George Washington used. It's very historic.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and there's a funny story because the Clinton secretary tried to take it with her.
Really? What happened?
When Bill Clinton's secretary, they noticed the pudding spoon was missing and they tracked her down.
Whoa.
She's in Guantanamo.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Well, it seems deserved. I hope I'll say it. I hope she's suffering down there.
And there's a lot of ceremonial aspects. There's the passing of the copier code.
Oh, and that's a big ceremony?
It is a big ceremony.
You don't just put it on a Post-it note?
Nope. So what they have, the incoming office staff and the outgoing, and the incoming will wear green robes and the outgoing wears blue robes. And there's a procession, and the copier code is carried on a very ornate pillow, and it's inside a beautiful crafted metal box that dates back to the early 1800s. And then when you open up the box, on the top, it's actually a reliquary, and there's a finger from one of the saints. It says Saint Germain. And so you just kind of, you take the finger out, kind of gross. You put it on the pillow, and then underneath, kind of like with an Apple iPhone, there's like a little tab. You pull it, and then there's a piece of cardboard that pops out. And then underneath is the copier code.
Oh.
There's a whole Gregorian chanting routine. And then it's a very, very solemn occasion. And then the head of the outgoing office will reach in, remove the copier code, hand it to the incoming chief, who then will force everyone to kneel before him, and he will dab them on the shoulder with the copier code.
Jesus, it seems like a bit of overkill to me.
It is overkill because everybody knows it's 7777.
Okay, and how do they pass off the nuclear football?
So the nuclear football is actually a baseball.
What?
The nuclear football is actually a baseball.
That's crazy.
Signed by Carl Yastrzemski.
Okay.
And so it's a baseball, and baseballs have that red stitching.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it's a zipper.
Whoa.
And so what you do is you unzip the baseball, crack it open, and there's a big red button right there. You press that down, you close it, you zip it back up, and you whip the ball against a wall. And that starts the process.
That starts the nuclear war?
Yeah, and freaks everybody out because it's so incredibly easy.
Yeah.
People have always thought, they assume there's like this big briefcase with codes and numbers and code books and some kind of, system to prevent an accidental triggering or an intentional triggering. It's a Carl Yastrzemski baseball with a red button inside that you whip against the wall.
Wow. Now, there was a time also when the nuclear football, which is a baseball, was actually used in a Little League game and launched a missile.
Yeah, well, that's the part of the Cuban Missile Crisis you don't hear about.
What?
Yeah. So there was a Little League game, and the guy in charge of the nuclear football was there with his kid, Tyler.
Yeah.
And he's watching the game, and, there was some downtime baseball. Little League can be a little bit boring, as you're a coach. And so he kind of went through his briefcase and had the baseball and was kind of playing with it. Then he got distracted, put the ball down, and somehow the ball winds out on the field. We don't really know how.
Man.
But the kids are playing. Pitcher throws the ball, and the kid swings and misses. And then the ball kind of rolls, and the guy sitting there, he looks down, he sees the Carl Yastrzemski baseball. That is the nuclear football. Right. And he panics. So then he jumps onto the fence and tries to climb over. And then, of course, what happens.
Remind me, because I'm a little behind in my history books.
Somebody yells, "That's Barnaby the pedophile," who had been plaguing the city for some time. Of course, nobody knew what Barnaby looked like, but the assumption was this crazed man jumping over a chain link fence had to be Barnaby the pedophile.
Yeah, where he couldn't take it anymore, seeing all those sweet young boys on the field. He just had to have one.
So, of course, then he's trying to get the baseball. They assume he's going after the catcher. He's tackled. He's beaten. The kids chime in, kill the pedo. So they start hitting him with the aluminum bats. Fortunately, the kids aren't that strong at that age. So it's more of like, heavy contusions and bruises and internal bleeding. But that was a funny story. And, he got the ball and he just clutched it into his chest as they pummeled him with bats and feet. And at some point, the police came and broke it up and then dragged him off. And during the interrogation, one of the officers is looking at this ball. He's like, "What's so important about this ball that you had to dive into the Little League game?" And he said, "Please don't play with that. I work for the government. That's the nuclear football that looks like a baseball. But please let me call my office and they will verify. Because if you do anything, you could trigger nuclear war." So the cop says, "Okay, smart." He hands him a phone. Guy calls his boss and says, "Listen, the police. I'm here with the police. I've been arrested. They think I'm Barnaby the pedophile. I jumped into a Little League game. The kids really hurt me." And he says that, "Listen, there's an officer here holding the nuclear football that, of course, looks like a baseball. Would you please tell the officer not to do anything with it? Otherwise, we could launch a missile or something." Well, the person on the other end of that phone spoke remedial English. And all she heard was "launch a missile" or something. So she turns around, fires off a telex. It goes to NORAD. NORAD sees it, fire a missile or something. So what do? So the guy on duty, he's supposed to verify the order and verify that he's supposed to launch a missile or something. Okay.
Okay.
So, but, and it's stupid the way they set it up. On his he's got a computer keypad there. One says launch the missile. The other one says verify the order. And he's dyslexic.
Very strange. And this is all in your book on transitions of power?
Unfortunately, because it's really not about transitions.
It's not at all.
It's more of a history of the nuclear football that's a baseball.
I think your book is emblematic of our system in that it sounds like it's a big hot mess. It is a big hot mess. And I'm going to write about that in my forthcoming book called Gender Reassignment Surgery. So Brian.
Yeah.
Jack.
Yep.
We've had in the year plus we've been doing the show, we've had some guests on the show, including some alums of the BS of A, our old TV show back in the day.
Heard about it. Can't find it on YouTube.
That's because we chose initials for the title of our show, and it's very difficult to do Google searches for initials. Anyway, that's not important. What's important now is we've had people like Matt Fisher, Tim Martin, some of our funny friends from back in the day. But today we have probably the most special guest, the most beloved character on the BS of A that we could possibly have joining us today. Do you know who that is, Brian?
Anthony.
No, it's not Anthony. And I couldn't get in touch with Anthony. Other than Anthony, like who would you most like to have on the show?
John?
I love John. Oh, he's so funny. He would have been great.
Lauren.
No. I think she doesn't want to be associated with us.
Mike?
No, not Mike. No, he's high in like Central America or something.
Les.
Oh no, not Les. Rhymes with Glenn.
Well, obviously, the most likely would be Sven, who is the Swedish editor.
No, I couldn't get Sven. That was a hard no.
Jack, why are you dragging this out? Just tell me.
It's Ben. Our old friend Ben is here. Ben, are you there?
Hey, Jack. Hey, Brian.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, Jack, did he guess me on the first go like you said he would?
Yeah, he nailed it. He was talking about how much he was like hoping that it would be you.
Yep.
Oh, we went on and on. It was great.
That's so true.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it. My best friend, Brian.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you.
You too. I just saw you. You were having a virtual wedding, and I placed my iPad in the center console of the car and watched you get married on the Taconic Parkway.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so glad you could join us.
Then I got pulled over by the state police. That was the first time I've ever been pulled over after a wedding.
Did you tell them that it was because you were watching my wedding on Zoom?
I didn't want to add that fact in. He mentioned that I was going 74 in a 55, and I played it really nice, and he let me off on your special day.
That's really nice of him.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So just so you know where all your good karma went from that day and for your marriage, it all went to Brian getting out of paying $150 for a speeding ticket.
Thank you.
I will carry that weight with me for the rest of my life.
Boy, Ben, it is good to see you, my friend.
It's good to hear you, Jack, and it's good to see you, Brian. But
Thanks.
Jack, I actually can't see you.
Yeah. Why don't you tell him why, Jack?
Yeah, that sort of has been a recurring problem on the show. The camera on my computer doesn't work. And Brian, for many long months, blamed me for it, that I'm sort of technologically illiterate. But in fact, it's a hardware issue that we've learned. Nothing I could have fixed. So there you go. That's why you can't see me, Ben. But I can see you.
Okay, that's a little creepy, but I guess it's okay. I can hear you. It's almost like we're in the same room, but the lights are turned off.
We were going to launch a YouTube channel, and then we thought better of it because it would just be me talking to a black rectangle.
You know, what we want to get into with you, because gosh, we sure do miss you, and our fans miss you. Our fans to this day reference you. They ask how Ben is doing. When Brian and I would travel, we would play charity events in Salt Lake City, doing stage shows. Ben, how's Ben? Where's Ben? Someone wrote on their car window when they drove up to the charity event in Salt Lake City, they wrote Ben lives.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
For people who don't know, we would always find a way to kill Ben every episode of our show in more and more disturbing ways. And so they wrote Ben lives and drove all the way to Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Thank you to the driver of that car.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
I mean, it was a fool's errand, but I mean, like, I appreciate the thought.
So Ben, as Brian just said, you just got married. Was it last weekend?
Last weekend, yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. What is your wife's name?
Her name is Kira.
No, her full name.
Do you need to know her full name?
Okay, Kira. We'll go with that. I'll eventually get it out of you.
Jack and I were both at the wedding, technically.
Yep, I was there.
It was my first Zoom wedding. Glenn popped my Zoom cherry. I mean, Ben popped my Zoom cherry.
What happened? Wait, no, this is a different story. It sounds like they're combining in your head. What happens with trauma is that like attaches to other things, and then it bubbles up at moments that you don't want to.
Right. Shouldn't drink in the morning.
It was actually my first Zoom wedding too, to be honest.
Really?
I had a friend screen record the whole thing, so I asked him to like go through all the guests like on his computer, so I can see you, Jack. I can see your name. There's no camera now. I know why. But Brian, I could see you and you're in like a car and it's like, it's just such an extreme angle because you look so frustrated.
Well, really? Oh, I did. I put it on my dashboard, and then my son, who's 16, freaked out because he didn't want to be seen. So I had to like turn it, and then I finally put it on the console and watched it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really exciting to see you when I was able to watch and see everyone there. It was really cool, and you like did a fun wave.
Oh, at the end.
And your hair is so long now. I don't know if your listeners know that, but your hair is like.
I just let it. I don't care anymore.
I would describe it as like Mozart would be the first word that comes to mind.
I guess I look like a pianist.
Yeah, no, you do. So Brian, I think Ben is going to need some advice on, and I want Ben to think of some questions for you too, but I'm going to sort of start things off. Brian is, somewhat of an expert on sort of the honeymoon phase of marriage. He even wrote a self-help book on weddings. The first year of marriages. What was the name of that book again, Brian?
Oh my goodness, The First Year.
Oh yeah, and that's actually what it's called. Oh my goodness, The First Year by Brian Sack.
Yeah.
And so we were, do you have questions, Ben, in terms of what you can expect on the first year of your wedding? And Brian, being the expert, having literally written the book, can help you answer it. What are some ways early on when you're first still getting to know? Because obviously, Ben has probably now been intimate for the first time now that he's married and it's allowed. What are some ways to sort of maintain intimacy in the first 6 months of a relationship and then beyond?
Ways to maintain intimacy? Well, you want to keep things exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing we learned. So in our room, we have above the master in bed, there are life-size photographs of both my wife and myself standing naked. And what we do is we have every night before bed, it's called love darts. And so we blindfold one another with socks. And then we take our love dart and we spin each other around. And then you throw the love dart. And whatever that dart lands on is called your area of focus.
Oh.
Kind of randomizes things. So like last night, perfect example, I hit the lamp. And my wife shattered a glass of water. So last night, I spent most of the evening trying to patch the lamp and fix it, and my wife got a mop.
Sorry, I'm taking notes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
How many mops?
We have one mop. We're a one mop household. My father was brought up in the Depression.
So that's some really good intimacy advice, Brian. Ben, are you going to be able to use that? Is that helpful?
I think so. I mean, like I'm really worried about keeping it spicy, about, making sure that things are still fun, and not just in that realm, in every realm. So, just like the little things you do all the time, and the more into, the little I loves you do, I'm worried that eventually they're going to get worn out, and I don't know how to keep that emotional connection strong.
Yeah,
that's a great question, Brian. How does he do that?
I always have a routine every night before my wife goes to bed, and I will text her to let her know I'm thinking of her, and then she will respond, with prove it.
Yeah. What do you get, Ben? You get something like that?
Oh, I love you so much. We're made for one another. Anytime I say I love you, she says I love you. To me, it kind of becomes like an endless loop of just I love you, I love you, I love you, and it never stops. And it's really it's the biggest joy in my life, and I'm so glad that the three of us all have that.
Yeah, I do. I joke about Betsy all the time, but we have that as well. Actually, we have got there's so much love. It's something that we're excited to show the kids how to love each other. You know what I mean? That they can aspire to have a relationship that is this giving, and that there is so much love in this household for them to aspire to get that in their own lives. We could not be more in love. I love her more today than I did the day I married her. So I'm glad all three of us have that.
Well, yeah. Just to go back for a second. So when you text her things and she'll text you back loving things.
Yeah. Or sometimes, it'll just be like a picture of something nice that I like, and she'll send me a picture of something that she knows that it would be like an inside joke between us, and we'll laugh and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. We have a lot of inside jokes too. Right.
So what is it like? So if you text your wife something like love you, thinking of you, and you get back a photograph of a pile of skulls from the Pol Pot's regime.
How long would you say, from your experience, that the honeymoon phase lasts that you wrote about in your book?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. 1 year of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the honeymoon is different for everybody. And it really just depends on a lot of the medications that they're on.
Mm-hmm.
My wife had been on an antipsychotic medication, which I was unaware of when we first met. And then we got married, and then she stopped taking the medication. She said she was fine. And within about a week, she started saying, "You're not George Clooney. You're not George Clooney."
Oh no. So she was on really, really strong drugs.
Very strong.
She she didn't know up from down. She thought that you were the handsome actor George Clooney from all the successful Hollywood movies.
She was on so many drugs. She thought you were a handsome, well-meaning, distinguished human.
Charming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, off that medication, reality sets in, and things started going downhill shortly afterwards.
In what way? In what way did going off the pills affect your marriage in the early days?
Well, I mean, she would try to kill me, which, of course, is bad for any marriage.
I mean, I think that it sounds like you're giving this to me as like a cautionary tale, but I honestly, I hear something really, really beautiful because it didn't happen. You're still here. So, I mean, clearly, love wins in this situation. And I don't know, I feel pretty inspired by that story.
Well, beautiful, Ben. We have a little wedding present for you.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
No, we do. Brian, go ahead. Tell him about his present.
In my culture, what we do is we send a coach and 6. So a coach and 6 horses to pick up the new groom and take him to a beautiful luncheon. And I've given you an apple. That's why it's on your desk. And that is the apple that you hand out to the horses. And I think I hear them coming now, Jack.
Okay.
Yeah, here they come. Ben, this is for you, buddy. This is because we love you. And enjoy your lunch. Go on. Go. So step right in the middle of the road there and feed the horses.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
You ate the apple right in front of the horse. That pisses them off, Ben.
Oh.
Ben, did you get the horses?
Unfortunately, he ate the apple in front of the horses, Jack.
He shouldn't have done that.
No, that's the first thing you learn when you go to Horse Academy. So sad. Jackaroo.
I'm here.
Listen, we got some feedback, some responses to emails, some messaging, stuff like that. Can I tell you some of it?
I wish you would.
Because it's very uplifting. It's nice to get feedback.
Okay.
I like it.
It is. It actually really is. It really makes our day to hear from listeners. Yeah. So this is great.
It's nice. So I should put nice music under it.
Okay.
Thanks for a great year, guys. I've enjoyed every minute. You got me through some long drives. Keep at it. Cujo. Which is the name of a dog from that Stephen King thing.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. Well, so Cujo's enjoying the show.
I get long drives, so maybe he's a trucker or he just likes to drive. But my brother-in-law's a trucker. Also listens to the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, drive safe, guys.
Yeah. Be safe. Essential workers.
Damn straight.
I got another one, Jack. You guys, I've been a huge fan of Brian since BS of A, which is a show we did. I was vaguely aware of Jack's existence, which means that she's been listening and she knows the jokes about you. Your podcast gets me through the week. I listen to new ones on repeat as soon as I have time. That probably makes me lamer than Jack, but whatever. That's another Jack hit, which I like. I shared your best of episode with a few friends and got them hooked with the Last of the Muppets. Now that Last of the Muppets, that's actually one of your favorites, isn't it?
All that Muppet humor always just tickles me.
There was like a phase where we just had Muppet stuff. Yeah.
Muppets doing dark things always makes me laugh.
You guys are the beep best. Keep it up.
Oh, what was the beep for?
She said fucking.
Oh, gosh.
And that was Liz.
That was Liz. Well, God bless you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Watch the potty mouth, for goodness sake.
Yeah, my goodness.
We had to bleep you, Liz.
Yeah. Brothers. Bros. It's not brothers. Bros. I became a fan after I heard you on JRY. Which took me a while, but I realized it was Justin Robert Young, which is the...
Oh, I thought it was the Joe Rogan Experience.
Experience. Justin Robert Young, who's the host of the very popular Politics podcast. Genuinely enjoy the clever / juvenile and absurd / witty places you go. Many lols. Eat your wheat and knock Rogan out of the top slot. Eat your wheat. Do you think he means Wheaties? I think autocorrect might have sabotaged his intentions. Eat your wheat.
Oh yeah. Or he's lives in Kansas
and loves wheat.
He's a farmer
and he just
loves wheat.
And he really wants to boost sales. Eat your wheat and knock Rogan out of the top slot. And Anthony, it's funny. We were just talking about that, like how Joe Rogan is listed as comedy.
Yes,
a comedy podcast. How he's not really a comedy podcast. I mean, he does stand up and MMA, but like it just feels wrongly classified as a comedy podcast. It's a very good and informative podcast, but I wouldn't call it comedy.
It's not quite it's just a long form discussion show.
Right. So that should be a special category that I'd be happy for him to be number one in.
Yes.
It's just not fair that he's number one in comedy because it's not really comedy, but thank you, Anthony.
No, it's not. Yep. Great.
Really enjoy you guys. One favor, please explain the Beck thing because I'm out of the loop. Chris.
Oh, interesting. Well, I guess we better explain that.
Jack and I had a show called The BS of A.
With Brian Sack.
And it was on a network called The Blaze, the fledgling new network. So we were tasked with having a comedy show that was nonpartisan on a network that was partisan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fun tightrope to walk.
Yeah, for sure.
Because within 3 days, I had Steve Bannon trying to get me fired.
That's right. That's a true thing.
Long story. Interesting.
Long story. One of our very first, if you want to hear the Steve Bannon getting us fired story, I believe you can listen to I think it might be episode 1.
Did we even talk about that? We did?
We did.
Okay. We did then. And if not, email me and I'll tell you. And here's one. Brian, I'm sorry I've been so distant. This back pain has really thrown me for a loop. The only reason I haven't completely lost it is I still have all the memories of our passionate nights and the beautiful mornings where you make me an omelet, the likes of which my hubby, whose initials are JH, could never make. Anyway, here's to the future and more great omelets that my husband and our 2 young kids, one male, one female, could never quite achieve. Anyway, gotta go. My dog, which is named after a late night talk show host, is barking. And my stupid husband, whose name rhymes with back, is so tech unsavvy he can't open the can of food. XOXOXO BH. That's cute.
Gosh, that is really cute. That's some of those references sort of harken to my life a little bit because the other day my dog Carson, I had to feed him and I couldn't. Damned if I could figure out that can opener. And my 2 kids were screaming and crying, and Betsy was just laid up with Betsy Helmuth, who's just laid up in back pain, was just screaming that I didn't know anything and that I'm worthless and I can't pleasure her sexually like someone else. And it was just sort of this funny. It's funny how sometimes like a letter from a fan can trigger some things in me as an artist, as a podcaster.
You want to wrap up the show?
Not really.
That was questionable material. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to review the podcast. Make sure to visit qmpodcast.com for episodes, show notes, and bonus material.